she announced, "I'm keeping my ex in my life. Deal with it or leave." I said, "I choose option 3. I invited her ex to lunch without her. What he told me about her had me packing her bags before she got home. I'm Matt, 38, and my girlfriend, Lauren, 36, had just dropped a bomb in the middle of our otherwise normal Tuesday evening. We had been together for 18 months, sharing a townhouse in suburban Austin for the last 6 months, and until now, I thought our relationship was solid. But then came Derek Loran's ex-husband. He'd recently moved back to the city for work, and all of a sudden, Lauren's behavior shifted. Coffee dates, constant texts, casual invites to events without even consulting MIT. Felt like she had found a way to keep her past hovering over us like a storm cloud. When I finally confronted her about it, she didn't flinch. Instead, she went into defensive mode. "Derek's important to me," she said, her voice steady. "We share a history. Just because we divorced doesn't mean I have to cut him out completely." I blinked, struggling to reconcile the woman I knew with this bold, unapologetic version standing before me. "Lauren," I said slowly, choosing my words carefully, "he's texting you goodnight messages. That's not just friendship. That's crossing a line." She rolled her eyes, a practiced motion that had always irritated me but now felt like a dagger. "You're being insecure," she said. "Derek and I are mature adults who stayed friends. If you can't handle it, maybe this relationship isn't for you." And then it came the line I will never forget. "I'm keeping Derek in my life. Deal with it or leave." She smiled like she had won some invisible contest, assuming I would cave. But I didn't. I nodded, said nothing, and in my mind, I chose my course, option 3. I wasn't going to walk away quietly, and I certainly wasn't going to let this slide. That night, after she fell asleep, I noticed something on her desk. Derek's business card, bold, unassuming, as if it had been placed there deliberately. Investment advisor at a downtown firm, all neat lettering. My pulse quickened. This was the peace I needed. The next morning, I called him. "Derek, this is Matt, Lauren's boyfriend. I was wondering if you'd be available for lunch tomorrow, just the two of us." The pause on the other end of the line felt long enough to stretch across continents. "Ah, does Lauren know about this?" he asked finally. "No, that's kind of the point," I replied. "I think we should talk, man to man." He hesitated, then agreed, and we set a time at a steakhouse downtown. The lunch started tense. Derek shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting to his phone every few seconds. "Look, I'm not here to threaten you," I began carefully. "I just need to know what's really going on with you and Lauren." He swallowed hard and admitted the truth. Lauren had always kept backup options, a pattern stretching back years, from her college ex, Brad, to now. Texts, coffee dates, subtle hints at reconciliation, all designed to keep doors open while she maintained control over every relationship she touched. I sat back, absorbing the weight of it. My stomach turned when Derek described how she had manipulated finances, opened accounts in his name without permission, and even drained funds under the guise of emergencies. Everything fell into place: the constant texts, the secret coffee dates, the sense that something was always off. Lauren wasn't just keeping Derek around for friendship. She was safeguarding options while actively undermining trust in her current relationship. By the time I drove home, my mind was racing. I had a few hours before she returned from her yoga and wine night. Hours to confirm, document, and prepare. First, the credit report. Sure enough, an inquiry I hadn't authorized. Then the office filing cabinet, hidden among tax documents, was a 401k beneficiary form, with her name added, unsigned but ready to be submitted. Amazon orders to her friend's house designer bags, jewelry, items I never authorized, and the closet her secret vault. A folder labeled future planning, printouts of homes far beyond our budget, a business plan for a boutique she intended to open, financing section citing my supposed investment, $150,000. I had never consented to any of this. By late afternoon, I had changed every password, removed her as an authorized user on my accounts, packed her belongings, and screenshot every suspicious detail when she arrived that evening. Slightly tipsy and laughing on the phone, she was met not with an argument, but with the stark truth: her life, her plans, her schemes all laid bare in boxes across the living room. She froze, phone slipping from her hand. Every smile, every casual comment now struck with the weight of undeniable evidence. That night, I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I simply documented, secured, and waited. By the end of the evening, the first phase of option 3 had been executed. I had no idea just how far this would go, or the consequences that would unfold over the next few days. But one thing was certain: I was no longer a passive participant in her game. The next morning, I woke up early, still buzzing from the discoveries of the night before. Lauren wasn't due home until evening, giving me a solid window to prepare. I reviewed everything again: the credit inquiries, the Amazon orders, the 401k paperwork, the hidden notes in her future planning folder. Each piece was a thread in the web she had been weaving behind my back. I felt a mixture of anger, disbelief, and a strange, steady clarity. This wasn't just betrayal, it was an attempt to manipulate, control, and profit from our relationship. I called Derek again, just to confirm what he had told me the day before. "Derek," I said, "I need to make sure I'm not missing anything." He sighed, clearly torn but cooperative. He confirmed the pattern. Lauren had always kept backup plans, always hinting at reconciliation while exploiting trust. She had financially manipulated him in the past, and now she was trying the same tactics with me. He even shared texts, recent messages, where she complained that I was boring compared to him and hinted that our relationship might be a mistake. Each word was a knife. By midday, I had traced every account she could access. Passwords changed, credit cards removed, online shopping redirected, every potential loophole closed. I even checked my bank alerts for attempted transfers. Hours later, satisfied that she couldn't pull any fast moves while I prepared, I began packing her things. Carefully, methodically, I filled boxes with her clothes, personal items, and future planning materials, the documents, receipts, and printouts that proved her intent. Lauren came home later than expected, laughing with a friend over her phone. She stepped into the townhouse, dropping her bag and calling out cheerfully, unaware of the storm waiting for her. When she saw the boxes in the living room, her face went pale. She froze, phone slipping from her hand, and for the first time, I saw the mask crack. "What? What is this?" she stammered. Her voice, once so confident and sharp, now trembled. "Your things," I said calmly. "Everything you've been planning behind my back is packed. Take it or leave it. I've documented everything." She tried to protest, claiming she hadn't done anything wrong, that it was just planning for the future. I held up my phone, showing screenshots of Derek's texts, the credit applications, the Amazon orders, the 401k form. Silence fell. Her eyes darted, searching for an excuse that didn't exist. 2 hours passed as she rummaged through the boxes, screaming occasionally, trying to salvage what she could. her friends on speakerphone offering frantic advice and denial. But there was nothing left to argue. Every manipulation, every scheme, every hidden action had been exposed. By the time she left, escorted by the evidence she could no longer deny, I felt an odd mix of relief and exhaustion. Even then, the consequences weren't over. The next day, my bank called. An attempted $5,000 wire transfer had been made from my account. The IP address traced back to Lauren's laptop. My stomach sank, but I was ready. Two-factor authentication saved me from financial disaster, and I immediately filed a police report. The detective listened carefully as I presented a pattern of attempted identity theft and financial manipulation, corroborated by Derek's testimony and my own documentation. The situation escalated quickly. Within 48 hours, the authorities were involved, and Lauren was arrested at her workplace. The recorded call from jail confirmed her attempt to commit wire fraud, leaving no room for denial. Her father bailed her out, hiring a proper criminal attorney this time, but the legal momentum was now firmly in my favor. Meanwhile, Derek and I developed an unexpected camaraderie. Over coffee and dinners, we shared stories of the past, and he helped me understand the full scope of Lauren's manipulation. It was strange, surreal, even how the person you once viewed as a rival could become an ally in exposing truth. He joked once that watching her face reality was therapeutic, and for the first time, I allowed myself a quiet, private satisfaction. Not revenge, just accountability. The following days were a blur of documentation, lawyer consultations, and fortifying my financial defenses. I changed every password, set up alerts, and reviewed every transaction. My house felt different, empty in a way that was almost peaceful. I wasn't celebrating her downfall, but I was taking ownership of my own life, my own security, and my own decisions. Option 3 wasn't easy. It required patience, attention to detail, and the willingness to confront the uncomfortable truth. But it worked. By the end of the week, Lauren's parents showed up, frantic, trying to negotiate, pleading for another chance. I listened calmly, letting them talk while keeping a mental checklist of every violation, every attempt at fraud. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I simply laid out the facts, showing them documentation, texts, screenshots, and bank statements. There was no room for interpretation, no ambiguity. Her actions were illegal and unethical, and no amount of tears, guilt trips, or familial pressure could change that. Finally, the locksmith arrived, changing the locks while her parents argued in the driveway. Lauren returned an hour later, furious, demanding access. I directed her to the garage and the boxes I had packed everything she owned. She spent hours there, shouting, crying, and making a scene, watched by neighbors who had begun to gather. There was no negotiation, no compromise. The law was clear, my evidence was clear, and my resolve was absolute. By the time she left, escorted by her parents once more, a strange calm had settled over the townhouse. The first phase of option 3 was complete. I had not only protected myself financially, but had ensured that every attempt at manipulation, deceit, or theft had been exposed and documented. And I knew, deep down, this was just the beginning of seeing the full consequences of her actions unfold. Monday morning arrived, and with it, the final stage of option 3. I received a call from my bank. Another suspicious transaction attempt. This time, someone had tried to wire $5,000 from my account. My stomach sank, but I was ready. The IP traced back to Lauren's laptop. Two-factor authentication had already saved me, but I knew this was now criminal behavior, not just manipulation. I filed a police report immediately by Tuesday afternoon. Lauren was arrested at her office, in front of colleagues who watched in stunned silence. She called me that night from jail on a recorded line, begging me to drop charges. Calmly, I reminded her that the call was recorded and that she had confessed to attempted wire fraud. There was no room for denial. Her father bailed her out, hiring a real criminal attorney this time, but the legal momentum was now unstoppable. Court was surreal. Lauren arrived dressed like she was attending a cocktail party, ignoring her lawyer's advice for conservative attire. The prosecutor laid out every charge: attempted identity theft, fraudulent credit applications, wire transfer attempts, unauthorized financial exploitation, and the 401k beneficiary documents she had tried to manipulate. Derek testified about her history of exploiting him financially, and I presented screenshots, receipts, and documentation from the townhouse, the Amazon orders, and her planning folder. The bank's fraud investigator corroborated the attempted wire transfer. Lauren's defense argued it was a misunderstanding, that she thought we were essentially married. The judge, unimpressed, laughed. Our state doesn't even recognize common law marriage, and even if it did, it wouldn't give her the right to open credit accounts in my name. The evidence was clear, systematic, and damning. She took a plea deal, 6 months probation, 100 hours of community service, full restitution for the Amazon purchases, $3,400, a no-contact order. Her employer discovered the fraud conviction and terminated her. Suddenly, the life she had been trying to manipulate into existence collapsed. She had relied on deception, planning a future without consent, and now faced real consequences. Meanwhile, Derek and I developed an unexpected camaraderie. Over coffee and dinners, he shared insights into Lauren's patterns, helping me understand the long-term manipulation. Watching her face reality was therapeutic, he said, and I couldn't help but agree. This wasn't revenge. It was accountability catching up to her. We laughed quietly at the irony: two men, previously rivals in her games, now allies in the truth. Her social media exploded in the aftermath. Lauren tried to portray herself as the victim, claiming I had thrown her out over jealousy, painting a picture of emotional abuse. Friends and family lashed out at me online. Her sister Ashley even threatened to expose me. I remained calm, posting only facts: that I ended the relationship after discovering multiple attempts at financial fraud, documented evidence, and legal consultation. The tide shifted immediately. Her narrative crumbled under the weight of documented truth. Weeks passed. Lauren's parents continued to call, pleading and threatening, but the locks were changed, the no-contact order in place, and every access she had to my life severed. I did not gloat. I simply ensured my assets were secure, my accounts monitored, and my life restored. Trust but verify had become my mantra, and now, after months of chaos, a quiet normalcy returned. 2 months later, Lauren was living with her parents, working retail, and struggling to rebuild a life she had tried to manipulate and exploit. Derek introduced me to his girlfriend, and we shared occasional dinners, the tension replaced by a wary respect. The ultimate satisfaction wasn't seeing her suffer, it was knowing that truth. Patience and careful action had protected me legally, financially, and emotionally. Reflecting on the experience, I realized that option 3, the path I chose, wasn't about revenge. It was about consequences catching up. It was about protecting oneself, documenting every step, and confronting uncomfortable truths head. Lauren had tried to play poker while I was playing chess. By the time the game ended, every move she had made in secret had been revealed, and every scheme dismantled. Even small reminders of justice lingered in everyday life. I heard she had tried to reconnect with Brad, the college ex, only to be blocked when she discovered he was married with 3 children. Karma, it seemed, had a sense of timing and irony. My advice to anyone facing similar manipulations: document everything, secure your assets, and do not allow emotional pressure to override your instincts. Sometimes, the best option is the one that safeguards your future rather than punishes the past. In the end, I chose clarity over compromise, truth over tolerance, and legal protection over blind emotion. Lauren had given me an ultimatum, believing she held all the cards. But I had played differently. I had chosen option 3, and that choice, careful, deliberate, and patient, was the one that won.